Hello, this is Daryl here. Thank you for downloading. I want to let you know about a future episode we have planned in which we are going to explain as many soccer phrases and soccer terms as we can. Here's how you can help. We've put together a very simple Google form, Google survey thingy. The link is in today's show notes. It's also at the top of our Twitter profile. What we're asking people to do is to click on that link and then just leave us any phrases, any soccer terminology that you hear pretty regularly, but you don't really know what it means. The idea here is to have one big explainer episode where we cover as much terminology as possible. So if you've heard, say, us or anyone else using phrases like drop the shoulder or giving him the eyes or gam or tam or number 8 or number 7, and you don't fully understand what that thing means, then this is your chance to get that question answered. Click the link or go to our Twitter profile at Total Soccer Show and click the link there. And then you can enter the phrase or term in a very simple Google form. You can leave your name or you can do it anonymously. But here's the main thing. There are no stupid questions here. If you have a phrase or a term you need explained, we will answer as many as we can. Okay, that's the end of the PSA. Now on with today's show. Hello and welcome to Thursday's Total Soccer Show. I am Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who I'm hoping doesn't pull a Philip Lahm on me. It's Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, well, I just wanted you to know I can't give my 100% every single day, so I retire.
Well, his thing was more like, I can give 100%, but only up until this date, even though my contract goes up until this date.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're going to need a new fullback this summer.
Yeah, that seems way too complicated, so I won't be doing that either.
Thank you. So it'd be a huge relief. It'd be a shock if it happened as well. Luckily, you're with me today. We have some great listener questions.
Yeah, we do.
2 US national team themed questions about possibly 2 different US national teams, and one about authentic versus replica jerseys.
Right.
We'll also have some TSS Scouting Network to close the show. Do you want to get straight to it, Mr. Rockwell?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, this question comes from Josh Strecker. It's also a question that some other people, I've seen people talking about this on the edges. I'm excited to address it. Josh asked us, if a team of US men's national team players in foreign leagues played against a team of domestic-based American players, who would win? Josh says, I've loved having this debate with friends over the past few years. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And Josh thinks it would be a closer match than most people would think.
Yeah, I think that's accurate because I think it is a little more balanced than maybe it's been in years past. I'm curious how it would have been back when, like, say, Bradley and Josie were still playing in Europe. I don't think it's quite as balanced of a competition at that point.
There was a time where it was only Landon Donovan was the big name US player in MLS, right?
Yeah, because that was before Clint Dempsey's return and all that good stuff. Yeah, so I think the simplest way we could devise to do this was basically to come up with our respective starting 11s. You're doing domestic players, and I'm taking the foreign.
Yeah, it seems
route.
like we've done this the wrong way around since I'm the foreign one on the Total Soccer Show.
Yeah.
We had, before we even get into this, we had a point of debate. I really wanted it to be that Liga MX players were also included in the domestic. Because, Mexico's right there.
That's not why you wanted that. And we both know it.
It's also about my lack of fullbacks.
There it is. I was keenly aware of that when you were like, you got done, like, I saw you write down your forwards and you got to defense, and that was when that head popped up. You're like, what about Liga MX? Where are we counting them?
Oh, yeah, so we're going to do this, right? Would you like to go first and tell me all about your, I want to say mostly European-based US men's national team, but also probably a bit of Liga MX? Right?
Mostly European, yeah. I mean, and it's a little difficult just because you do have a lot of good players playing abroad, and then it's a matter of like figuring out where they fit in the best and in terms of how much they've been playing.
Yeah,
I tried to factor that in as much as I could. Yeah, I mean, it is harder once you get going forward. Starting in goal, I mean, that in and of itself is difficult because you've got Ethan Horvath, who just moved to Bruges, but he's not playing there either. Brad Guzan, not playing for Middlesbrough. Yeah, there we go. But I started Horvath, actually, just because he made the move. He seems to be kind of like progressing at European level, whereas Brad Guzan is soon to exit Europe.
He's coming to Atlanta in June, right? Yeah, if we did like a stock abroad kind of thing, Ethan Horvath very much on the way up. Yeah.
And then I've got Jorge Villafana, my Liga MX entrant at left back.
Okay.
Right back is DeAndre Yedlin. Center backs would be John Brooks and Jeff Cameron. No surprise there.
Yeah.
My defensive midfielder, holding midfielder, this one was a little bit trickier because this is where I think maybe your team does have the edge because I'm guessing that's where you put Michael Bradley. So I've gone for what I would say is the next best thing for this position, and that's Perry Kitchen.
All right.
Ahead of Perry Kitchen, do you know who I have as my attacking central midfielder?
So have you got like a 4-1-3-2 type deal?
Yep.
So your central attacking midfielder would be...
Uh-huh.
Well, I have Question.
There's a reason why I'm asking you.
I have Dempsey. I don't know. Who is it?
Emerson Hyndman. Emerson Hyndman is my attacking central midfielder.
The future of the US men's national team.
Fabian Johnson on the left, Christian Pulisic on the right, Bobby Wood up top. And then, this is where it's actually kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Who do you pair with Bobby Wood? Because you could say Paul Arriola, but he's more of a winger, but he's doing very well in Liga MX. You could say Aaron Johansson. You could say Rubio Rubin, Terrence Boyd. Lots of different options, none of whom make like the most convincing case. But in terms of, say, we were going with an ideal scenario when they're 100% fit and healthy.
Julian Green? What about Julian Green?
Julian Green I had as my substitute right winger, just in case. I think you probably could put Julian Green in there, but
he's playing left wing for Stuttgart.
And I think there's a recency bias there, just because he's playing in Bundesliga 2 and scored. So I'm going to say Aaron Johansson will partner Bobby Wood. That's what I'm going to go with as my front two.
That's right. He's had some troubles, right? He's been injured. He's been a little bit out of form, but he's still. We've seen him when he's on it, and Aaron Johansson is quite the player.
Indeed.
And we're sort of not going with current form, suspensions, injuries right now, right? So if you just take the concept of Aaron Johansson as at his best, Johansson Wood as a strike partnership.
All right, so 4-1-3-2 for me. What about for you?
I've gone similar, 4-1-3-2. It starts out strong. It's Tim Howard in goal.
Right.
He's an MLS-based US men's national team. Tim Howard in goal. Centre-back pairing, I've gone with Steve Birnbaum.
Yep.
So impressive in the January friendlies, but also before that, right? We're up on Steve Birnbaum.
Right.
His partner, I could have gone maybe Walker Zimmerman after the most recent game. I could have gone Chad Marshall. I've gone Matt Beasler. I think Matt Beasler missed January with an injury, right? But he's still Matt Beasler. He's still got everything. You know, we know him. He's a trusted international.
Foot surgery or foot surgery somewhere in there. Yeah.
And I also like the left-footed Matt Beasler with right-footed Steve Birnbaum, my central defenders. Fullbacks, I really wanted to claim Villafana. I was really hoping, I was checking maybe he got a move back to MLS just before we recorded the show, just in case someone had picked him up.
Just in case.
So I can't take him, so I guess I'm taking Greg Garza. Yeah, because, you know, we weren't thrilled about his performance against Serbia. We've also seen him play a lot better. So I don't want to be too down on Greg Garza. He's my starting left back.
Right. No DeMarcus Beasley for you. Okay.
I thought about that as well, yeah. But I think, honestly, Garza gives you more at this point, right?
Yeah.
Right back is a tough one as well, right? Graham Zusi, I wasn't thrilled about.
Yep.
Kellen Acosta, I want to get him in this team, but I don't want to do what I didn't like Klinsmann doing and play him right back. So even though I'm not that familiar
I see what
with
you've done
him,
now. Okay.
even though I'm not that familiar with him, I've gone Keegan Rosenberry because everybody tells me he's the best American right back in Major League Soccer.
I think I can do your roster from here on out. I think I could guess your lineup if given the opportunity.
Well, I've gone for essentially it's basically a 4-2-3-1.
Right. So you got Kellen Acosta and Michael Bradley as your two midfielders.
I haven't. I have gone based on sort of Bruce Arena's reaction, and every time I see him play recently, I've gone Bradley and Jones as my two central midfielders. I still think Jermaine Jones is boss. Jermaine Jones will run you over. Jermaine Jones is dangerous. Michael Bradley, you and Alexi Ellis talked about it on yesterday's show. It was a great conversation about Bradley. You know my feelings about Michael Bradley. So yeah, Bradley holding Jermaine Jones is more of like a slightly freer number 8.
I think it's just because Jermaine Jones only played that first half against Iceland, then was sent home, and then isn't going to be playing in March. So he's sort of off my radar a little bit. So it didn't even occur to me to include Jermaine Jones. But yes, okay. So that makes more sense.
And if you're thinking of like what Kellen Acosta could become or what Sebastian Lletget could become, if they do well, they can become Jermaine Jones.
If they do well,
right? Yeah. And so Jones is in
so why not go with the one who's already doing well?
Exactly. With the one who is him.
Yep.
Okay. So what I've done is sort of 4-2-3-1, and my central attacking midfielder. I think that's the big debate, like 2 forwards or 1 forward. The reason we haven't had to worry so much about this debate in the past is Clint Dempsey, because Clint Dempsey can basically do both jobs, right? He's effective as a second striker. He can also, when needed, make up the numbers in midfield, and he's been the perfect compromise for a long time. We're sort of assuming that he's going to be healthy, and he might not play in March for the US. He might not, but sometime in the future he'll be back for the US. So my central attacking midfielder is Clint Dempsey. To his left, Darlington Nagbe. To his right, I've written on my page Morris/Bedoya. And it's basically about how tough is the opponent. If it's not too tough and we don't need too much defensive work, Jordan Morris is there to just like burn people down the wings. If you need someone who's going to be a bit more disciplined, Alejandro Bedoya to do a more complete midfielder's job.
Okay.
Centre forward, Josie Altidore.
And then who are you going to put on when that tired midfield becomes even more exhausted and needs substitutes in like the 55th minute and when Jermaine Jones gets his red card? I'm just curious, like, do you have the backups in there as well in your lineup?
Oh, I've got some backups written down here. Yeah, I've got Kellyn Acosta could come into midfield. Sebastian the Jet could come into midfield.
Okay.
Maybe Dax McCarty could come into the midfield. I've also got, if maybe the Dempsey thing's not working out, we need actually need 5 midfielders, I'd bring in Cleshton or Fairharbour or someone like that.
And then who's your, like, if you were to go with 2 strikers, who would it be?
If I was to pair Altidore with someone, well, possibly Morris, then I could just switch him to forward, possibly Agudelo.
All right. Solid shouts.
Yeah.
Solid shouts.
I feel like I ended on a high with my forwards.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Because isn't that like...
In the sense that you only had one forward, right? You had Josie Altidore.
Yeah, well, Dempsey as well, because Dempsey's half a forward, half a midfielder. That's why he's the perfect compromise.
Okay.
So, yeah, what do we do? Compare our lineups? Who do we think would win?
I mean, maybe it's biased, but I think the Europeans would edge it a little bit. That said, I mean, the domestic players have just had a 3-week-long camp, so they've gotten some familiarity
let's
together.
Not worry too much about context.
Yeah.
This is just strict quality of player, strength of team up against each other. Why do you think your team would win?
Because I think the foreign-based defense is a better defense overall.
Yeah.
I think in terms of that backline of Viafania, Brooks, Cameron, Yedlin, I think I would back that one over the semi-makeshift defense that you've got to throw together. Not because you've made poor choices, but because those are the available options.
I would agree with that. I think maybe I have the advantage in midfield. Who are your midfielders?
Emerson Hyman, Perry Kitchen.
Yeah, so that's not as strong as a Bradley Jones midfield, I would argue, right?
Okay.
But it's not so many steps below that you have to panic, whereas I feel like my step down from your defence to my defence is actually much more of a problem.
And then
I really couldn't figure out a right back.
And then you could have Pulisic and Fabian Johnson, both of whom have proven themselves to be intelligent midfielders who can execute a number of different game plans, so you could have both of them coming into the middle. You have more attacking fullbacks.
I was assuming that I had stronger wingers, like with Nagby and Morris, but when you compare it to Pulisic and Johnson, you have the edge there as well. Yeah.
And then you go up top. If it is Aaron Johansson, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up, but I think Bobby Wood, roughly comparable to Josie Altidore. Not obviously in terms of what they bring to the table, but just in terms of on any given day, they can get you a goal.
I would say Altidore and Dempsey is the superior pairing. I think Altidore's a more complete player than Bobby Wood, so I think I have the edge in terms of forwards. But again, it's not enough of an edge to make up for my lack of defenders.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's confusing though because and I know I'm not saying I disagree with you, but it is weird because it is Clint Dempsey, and I think what we're doing in this situation is choosing to be like, oh no, but it's Clint Dempsey, fully fit and ready to go and healthy and rested. And we haven't seen that in a while. And so I don't really know how strong that Dempsey-Altidore partnership would be right now.
Yeah, but that's not what we're doing, right? We're sort of a general sort of... Jermaine Jones would be suspended right now, for example.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is... No, I'm not even talking about, if they were to play tomorrow. It's just more of, I think I can't divorce myself from the reality that Clint Dempsey is older and missed most of last season. And so even if he was...
There's a chance it's like an Eddie Johnson situation where maybe the comeback is not on.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will. I mean, Eddie Johnson never even returned, as far as I remember.
Yeah, Dempsey's farther along in recovery.
Yeah, but it's just sort of, it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, Clint Dempsey is this game-changing threat. It's tough to say that about a guy who hasn't been there for 9 months.
Do you want me to mix it up then? And I'll go, let's say I put Benny Fairharbour in and make it a 4-2-3-1 with Fairharbour behind Altidore.
I think the only issue there then becomes that it's tougher to make the argument that Benny Fairharbour is the second striker or your other forward there. So then you're kind of dropping back into another midfield. Then you have Josie by himself. We've talked about that issue before as well.
But either way, maybe let's not get into the weeds on my team because we're going to be picking a combined team later on. Let's more think about how these two match up. And the argument I've been making is that I may be superior at the forward line, maybe in central midfield, but I think you are superior in defence and on the wings. And I think that defence, you talk about 4 people. It's really important to have a stronger defence.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's Bruce Arena said that. I think we've seen that with the current US team. So I think it's very important to have that kind of cohesive, consistent back line.
And just to have Yedlin bombing on, and to have, who's your left back?
Viafania,
yeah.
With Fabian Johnson ahead of him.
I still want to make an argument for Viafania. So does that settle it then? We think your team would win?
We think that the foreign-based team would edge it.
Who's your right winger, for example?
Christian Pulisic.
So he's going up against Greg Garza. You'd back Christian Pulisic, right? Much as we are okay with Greg Garza, he is not of the same standard as the left-backs Pulisic faces in the Bundesliga.
No.
Yeah?
No,
and then who's your left winger is?
Fabian Johnson.
So Fabian Johnson going up against Keegan Rosenberry. Yeah. And again, I haven't seen that much of him, can't really speak to the details of Rosenberry's game, but I know that he hasn't come up against a player of that standard before.
Darlington Nagby versus DeAndre Yedlin. That'd be pretty interesting.
That'd be very interesting.
And I
feel like Nagby could play some 1-2s around DeAndre Yedlin.
Yeah, I think he could try. I think DeAndre Yedlin's got that pace. And then what, Alejandro Bedoya or Jordan Morris, depending?
Yeah, let's go Jordan Morris.
Jordan Morris. Oh, yeah. See, now I see what you're doing. Jordan Morris versus Villafania. Again, that's kind of an interesting one. Yeah,
it's an old Cascadia rivalry matchup as well.
I didn't think about that either. Yeah,
that never got to happen because Villafania left before Morris arrived.
Well, time will tell. He could return. We shall see.
All right. So you feel pretty happy about that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, there are definitely many other options out there because you have Omar Gonzalez playing in Liga MX. You've got Matt Miazga. Lyndon Gooch almost made my roster, but he's playing with the U23s. Has not been playing for the Sunderland senior team since like early December,
coming back from injury,
or late November. So yeah, I think maybe he doesn't quite make it. But there's lots of options out there. It's not quite as like night and day as I think it used to be.
Because it used to be like definitely the Euro team would win, and good luck to the MLS team. And now it's a lot more balanced because of, we should say the reason being, because MLS teams have been willing to spend big designated player money to bring back Josie, to bring back Michael Bradley, to bring back Clint Dempsey. So those big pieces are suddenly domestic players, where in the past, I want to say maybe Dempsey would be returning roundabout now, but most of those guys would still be in Europe if that big money wasn't there. Maybe one thing we can agree on is this definitely proves that the US has more depth than ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fact we can pick, maybe my fullbacks aside, we can pick two really good teams. Right?
Yeah, I think so. And then, and as I said, you've got a lot of other options in Europe as well as in Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
That you could kind of round out that depth chart. You could do like a squad of 23 pretty convincingly.
Yeah, I'd say we could have a third team and a fourth team. Like we could each have a B team.
I like that I'm making the like novel argument that you could pick a whole squad of MLS-based players as though they didn't just do that like 3 weeks ago.
Of like 30-something players as well. All right, if you disagree with anything we had to say, email us, contact@totalsoccershow.com. Or if you agree, email us, contact@totalsoccershow.com.
That's allowed as well.
Or tweet at us at Total Soccer Show. Which team do you think would win? All right, Tyler. Luckily now we have a question from Marcus McCarthy. Marcus McCarthy...
It brings us back together.
It does bring us back together. He's a unifier. Marcus McCarthy asks, my question simply put is, what is the best 11 for the US men's national team to use for qualifying right now?
And I'm taking that right now literally, as in like if those World Cup qualifiers were moved up a couple, like, and it was like a week from now we're playing that World Cup qualifier. I'm going to say this weekend because you're not going to be able to get those people on a plane. It's not going to work.
I'm kind of free this weekend. It might be a problem in the future.
But if you were to pick a team like for next weekend, and everybody were clear to come, so it's like an international window, but who would you have in there? That has factored into my decision making.
So that means Dempsey is still not cleared to play international soccer. It means Jermaine Jones is suspended, and Timmy Chandler is suspended, and Aaron Johansson is like working his way back. And
oh man, I'm going to hear about not even putting Timmy Chandler as a possible right back, given the season he's having.
But Yedlin's also having a season. I mean, that's why this we're almost lucky Chandler is suspended for that first game, the first qualifier against Honduras, because now Arena doesn't have to make a decision.
There's also a chance that if he's wearing like the European All-Stars shirt as opposed to the U.S. national team jersey, then he plays better.
Timmy Chandler burn.
Yeah, shots fired. Okay, so should we talk about this? Should we talk about our combined 11 then?
So have I've picked an 11 over here with no input from you, so I'm assuming we're gonna differ.
All right.
I got kind of weird with it as well.
All right. Interesting.
Who's going first?
Well, you go first since you've gone weird.
Okay, here's what I've done.
Do you want to go position by position, or do you want to do your whole 11?
I'll go my whole 11, so like it all fits together. Okay. I guess you can stop me and ask me for reasoning on any of these if you like. Okay. Starting in goal, I have gone Ethan Horvath.
Okay.
Right? I guess for the same reasons you did for your European 11.
Sure.
My back four from left to right is Fabian Johnson at left back. John Brooks and Steve Birnbaum are my two centre backs because Jeff Cameron's still injured on his way back, right? DeAndre Yedlin is my right back.
We have the exact same back four.
We do? Okay, that's great. So you went Fabian Johnson left back as well?
Yep.
So
and Steve Birnbaum at centre back,
Maybe we should discuss that because I think a lot of people have been thinking Villafania's performance means we can push Johnson forward.
Okay.
So why have you gone Johnson at left back?
I think it's for the reasons we discussed. I forget what show it was. It was after one of the review shows. I think the Jamaica game. But it was basically that Villafania played well, but that's against a Jamaica B team.
Not severely tested.
Exactly, and it doesn't necessarily mean that he can handle that like day in and day out, game in, game out. And I don't want to keep moving Fabian Johnson back and forth anymore. I'd rather stick him at one position until such a time as like we have three left backs who could all deputize. We need more attacking play, so then we can shift Fabian Johnson forward. But for now, I think he stays where the US has been using him at left back.
And I also think we don't really have a problem like there's some shortage of attacking left-sided players.
Right.
So there's no need to like we can still fill that spot with someone really good and then still have Fabian Johnson on the field. Right. Okay. Ahead of that back four, I've got Michael Bradley sitting in the number 6 spot.
Same setup here.
Ahead of him, Sebastian Lletget doing the Jermaine Jones job. I was so impressed over the last 2 games. I love the energy. I want to see him starting.
Here's
where
we
diverge.
Yep.
Right? Okay. To the left, so this is essentially a 4-2-3-1, right? Same sort of thing where Bradley holds. Lletget is the other midfielder, but he's a bit freer to wander and be aggressive and tackle and go do things. To the left, Darlington Nagbe. I like Darlington Nagbe on the left wing. I love him cutting inside and shooting with his right foot. I also love that Nagbe moves inside, Johnson can overlap. I think that's a good partnership on the left. On the right, Jordan Morris. I'm all in on getting Jordan Morris's pace on the right wing with DeAndre Yedlin behind him.
I see what you've done here.
My central striker is Josie Altidore.
Okay.
Behind him
is Christian Pulisic.
I think it could work. I think Pulisic could be... You know what I talked about earlier, that Dempsey is like the good compromise between the two? I think Pulisic could also be that guy. There you go. That's my 4-2-3-1 US national team to start tomorrow.
Good pick, Jurgen.
Or next weekend.
Nicely done.
Anyways. Why did you say that? Because I've got people out of position?
Yep. And because, Bruce Arena said, he's playing on the right wing for Dortmund, and that's where he's comfortable, so that's where we're going to keep him.
Yeah.
So that you were then like, well, let's move inside just because it might work.
Yeah, I'm not Bruce Arena here, though.
Well, and honestly, but I do think that's why I would disagree with what you said there, is because if we're going with the best possible 11, the team that we think is the most capable of giving a result, then I want people where they're the most comfortable. And I think playing Christian Pulisic inside and suddenly giving him more responsibility and kind of tasking him with coordinating and connecting the attack, I think that might be a bit too much for him, at least at this stage.
Okay.
So that's why I've gone.
Sorry, I've got one more twist on this.
Yep.
One of the reasons I wanted to do it this way is because if we do want to switch to 2 up top, then Morris goes and joins Josie Altidore as 2 forwards and Pulisic goes over to the right, and you've got an easy switch to a 4-4-2.
Yep.
Okay, that's my final case for my team.
Yeah, all right. So I've gone basically the same back four that you had. I've gone Nick Rimando in goal. Again, for the reasons that we discussed.
Alexis Lalas persuade you?
He did.
Yeah.
It really was. That conversation made me realize, it could easily be him. And the reality is Tim Howard's still injured or coming back from injury. Brad Guzan not playing. Ethan Horvath has moved, but not playing right now. So I would say I'd go with the guy who played in camp. Seemed like he came in good shape. Seemed like was kind of backed by Bruce Arena, at least in that first game. So let's stick with him. So I've got Nick Rimando starting.
Okay, I'm convinced then. I will also go Rimando starting.
Okay. And then I've basically just gone with a 4-1-3-2.
Okay.
What we talked about before, which I think I'm going to go with Darlington Nagbe on the left, as you suggested. The only other option there that I had was Julian Green, as we talked about, but I think I would give it to Nagbe a little bit more, maybe just because of the familiarity.
Yeah.
I'd go Sasha Kleshtin in the middle, I'd go Christian Pulisic on the right, and then I'd have Josie Altidore and Bobby Wood up top together.
So Bradley holding, then 3 attackers ahead of him. And sorry, remind me again, Nagbe, Kleshtin, and who's your right side? Pulisic, okay. And then it's Altidore and Wood.
Correct.
Top. Yeah.
And a big part of that is that I think in these, yes.
In fact, why was I starting without Bobby Wood? Bobby Wood should have been the right winger, not Jordan Morris.
See, but then I feel like you're forgetting the Copa America Centenario aspect of starting Bobby Wood out on the flank doesn't really help him. It's not really what worked really well for him. What did work was getting him in the middle with Josie Altidore and having them partner each other.
Okay.
And I think in this January camp as well, Josie didn't look that good up top by himself. I think, again, there were still those kind of connectivity
enjoyed his
problems.
game against Serbia, mostly.
Was he up top by himself in that game?
Yeah, he was. Well, Kleshtin was underneath him.
That's right. I flipped it around. Yeah.
He didn't
in
play
the
at all.
second game, he had a partner.
He didn't know.
The second game there was at the front, too.
It was Agudelo and Morris. Yeah.
It's all blends together. But I think I want the two of them combining and playing off of each other. And I think then you can afford to have maybe a little bit weaker of a midfield, I guess, rather than trying to crowd the numbers in the center midfield. But I would rather see the U.S., if these games were moved up, if we're playing those World Cup qualifiers against Panama and Honduras, I'd rather see the U.S. be aggressive and try to get straight-up victories. Yeah. And I think that leads to a more attacking formation that allows you to get those results.
Here's the thing as well, what I'm realizing is we're doing this on paper, right? And we're just picking our strongest team. To me, what actually needs to happen is you need to know who the opponent is and think about what works best, right? So, for example, if the opponent is someone really strong, like say we're playing Germany or France, right? Then to me, there's a really strong argument for going just one striker and packing that midfield.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you just have 3 central midfielders, and one of them can be Kleshtin or Farhaber, but you really don't want to go 2 forwards because there's just not enough cover in central midfield. We're going to get picked apart, kind of like we did against Argentina.
Right?
Yeah. But if it's I'm trying to think of a weaker team, Maybe if it's maybe Honduras. I don't know. We're going to look into Honduras more before we get to the qualifiers, but maybe there. Honduras at home, there's an argument for 2 forwards. Just go for it.
I feel like that couple second delay was trying not to offend our potential Honduran listeners.
Yeah, no, well, it is, but I also want to say that Honduras are not as good as Germany or France.
Yeah, I think that's a safe thing to say.
And then, but we'll also,
to be fair, I've taken a lot of cold medicine, so who knows? It's going to be a fever dream. I don't even know if you're really there.
Honduras won the World Cup, right? 2014.
Did they really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. No. It's like Wilson Palacios MVP.
So yeah, we'll look into Honduras in a lot more detail as we preview the US-Honduras World Cup qualifier, and it may be that there's an argument for 1 striker versus 2 strikers based on what Honduras are bringing to the table. All
right. I guess we'll have to wait and see, since those games, I feel like, aren't going to be moved up to next weekend.
No,
Seems unlikely.
We could start a petition.
That should do it. That should get it done.
So did we settle on something?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think so. Did you? Well, what did you end up doing? Did you adjust to a 2-striker formation?
I'm kind of convinced by you going 2 strikers.
Okay.
Because I think Altidore and Wood deserve to be a partnership, so yeah.
So you're going kind of organized chaos then, basically.
So 4-1-3-2, Altidore and Wood up top,
so you've dropped Jordan
in
Morris.
Behind, I've dropped Jordan Morris, Pulisic on the right and Nagbe on the left. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I feel bad for Alejandro Bedoya because none of us mentioned him again, and yet he'll probably start. Because he seems like one of those trusted guys who can almost plug in anywhere in the midfield. So it wouldn't surprise me if Bruce Arena starts Alejandro Bedoya against Honduras. And I wouldn't be upset, even though we've ended up not picking him in our preferred 11 here.
I wouldn't be upset, but I wouldn't be thrilled.
Really?
I'd be thrilled to see more or less the starting 11 that we've just gone through.
And it just occurred to me that the starting 11 we've agreed on is essentially your starting 11 from the start, right? Right? You convinced me on the goalkeeper, so Romando. We have the same back 4, Johnson, Brooks, Birnbaum, Yedlin.
Yeah, Bradley.
We both agreed on Bradley sitting in front. I had him with a midfield partner, you didn't, and I think you persuaded me of that, because you persuaded me on 2 forwards, right?
And then I think you talked yourself into Bobby Wood.
Yeah, so it's Bradley sitting, then it's Nagbe on the left, Kleshton in the middle, Pulisic on the right, and then a forward partnership of Altidore and Wood.
Yep.
Maybe you're just more persuasive than I am?
That could be. Again, it's cough syrup or cold syrup, whatever I'm on, so maybe I've just been saying the same things over and over again and have lost all track of time, and you've just had to concede because otherwise we'd never move on. I don't really know.
Did you take cough syrup persuasive formula?
Yes.
That must be what it is. I thought that was banned in the podcasting world.
I took PM medicine, which stands for power mode, I think, if you're going with the workaholics
persuasive
model.
Mode.
Yeah.
All right, we have one more great question to come, but first, a word from our sponsor. Thank you, Dowell and Taylor, for the Audible ad read. Those guys are good, right?
I like that we continue to thank ourselves for that, yep.
Literally patting ourselves on the back.
Yep.
I am right now.
Yeah, you just did. I was going to say, no, we weren't, but then you did.
I realised what I'd done. We have one more question from Michael Spinelli. This is a question in 2 parts. First part is, Michael says, I am/will be an Atlanta United fan. I mean, I think because they haven't actually kicked off yet, but I think you are an Atlanta United fan right now, right? I want to buy a jersey, but should I get a replica or an authentic? Bit more explanation. Michael says, I understand authentic jerseys have a tighter fit and are more expensive because they're the actual shirts the players are wearing. I'm leaning towards replica here because bills to pay, mouths to feed, etc. But is it at all, quote, uncool or shameful to sport a replica? Will I be viewed as, quote, not a real fan?
Only by people who are annoyed that they spent too much money on an authentic jersey and want everyone to know that they spent all that money on an authentic jersey. That's my opinion. I would say buy the replica.
Absolutely.
I think I bought an authentic jersey once, and it still kind of fell apart just as readily as a replica jersey did. So I would say there's not that much difference there. And then, I think you'll end up being the person who's like, it's an authentic jersey. Do you see the badge? Do you see the logo? It means it's real.
Here's the thing. Most people can't tell. There are tiny telltale signs, right? Like on some jerseys, there's a gold tag, or if you look closely at the ventilation systems are more
elaborate,
and I assume more effective on an authentic jersey because professional athletes who are millionaires and are getting these jerseys for free are wearing them. Because here's the thing: they cost twice as much, right? Yep. It varies, but I think it's like $150 or so for an authentic jersey, and about $75, $80 for a replica jersey. And unless you're going to be playing in a professional soccer league and wearing this jersey, I don't think it's worth the extra money.
I don't think so. I also am fairly confident that you can get a replica jersey, and the same store that sells you that will also sell you the patches and iron them on for you. So if you really want it to look like an authentic jersey,
like you want like the Premier Premier League league patch or something.
Yeah, or in this case, MLS. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can handle that for you as well. So I'd say
What
replica.
if you got an Atlanta jersey and put the Premier League patch on, just to confuse people?
That would be confusing. Wasn't that the joke when Villa were going down? The people started buying their Aston Villa supporting friends Villa jerseys with the championship logo on it as opposed to the Premier League logo.
Oh, that's tough.
I think I told you to do
an expensive joke.
I think I told you to do that for your friend, who I think responded with, "I would gladly take that jersey," because it's an authentic jersey and way too expensive.
Yeah, Hugh loves a free.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Michael also had a follow-up question.
Yeah.
He said, with an expansion team, especially one with so many unknown quantities on the roster, young international players with no MLS experience, for example, I'm really rolling the dice on the player number I choose.
He's talking about having a number on the back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right now, the team only offers jerseys of flashy DPs Almiron and Villalba, and English veteran Chris McCann, none of whom have MLS experience. I'm wary of choosing any of those because, simply put, what if they suck?
That's right.
Yep.
You get the number on the back and suddenly that player sucks, then it's a terrible jersey to have.
I could also personalize a jersey in anyone else's name, but there are a few guarantees on the roster. Maybe Parkhurst, certainly not Andrew Carlton, even though I love him. Not sure I can wear a child's jersey. Correct. I could also go blank, but that seems boring. Help, says Michael.
I tend to go blank anyway.
Yep.
If I have the choice. I have a US jersey with Altidore on it, but I think it was they only sold Altidore jerseys in the store. They had Altidore and Spectre. I chose Altidore, which made more sense.
Yep.
I think blank is fine, especially with this unknown quantity of Atlanta United, because you don't know what's going to happen in that first year, right? Atlanta United look great now. It seems like the most successful expansion team in terms of assembling a roster, but that team has not set foot on the field in a competitive game yet. It could all go wrong, and then there's a massive turnover.
I think I'm kind of a weirdo when it comes to this because I think I go against what is the norm in that I think. Like, I'm a Man United fan. That is not a secret. But if I were to buy a Man United jersey, I keep that blank. Now, if I was buying a Spanish team or a German team, I would maybe get a jersey with a name on the back if that was what was available. I've done that when I was in Turkey and you could go to the bazaar and buy like the cheap jerseys.
Yeah.
I would buy whatever they had because if it's a team that I don't really care about or if it's a team that I have like a passing interest in, I'm okay with buying, say, like a Galatasaray Harry Kewell jersey or even, like, I don't know, just like a random jersey here and there because I don't have such a vested interest in it.
So you're not heartbroken if that player leaves?
Or I don't have to defend them. Whereas if you're an Atlanta United supporter and you're there every single week, say you do get an Andrew Carlton jersey and he gets sold to, or if he gets loaned out to Charleston, or if he has a bad week, or as happens frequently, you start to know about these players and you learn, not saying any of these Atlanta United players, but say you learn unsavory bits and pieces about, like if you're a Man United fan, you had a Ryan Giggs jersey and you start to learn kind of what's going on with him in his personal life, it changes things and it gives you a different impression. And so I think you kind of don't want that baggage on your back.
There's also, literally, right?
Yeah.
There's also, with, say, Andrew Carlton, it could be that he's a more regular Atlanta starter in 2018 or 2019,
right.
but there's a good chance he changes his number as he goes up the depth chart.
Yeah.
Right? He could end up wearing number 10, for example.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what his number is right now, but I assume it's not number 10.
I guess not.
Maybe, okay, what if Michael has to get a name and number? I would go Kenwyne Jones. Established player, isn't a DP, right? So they're not they're not breaking the bank to have him play. It seems like the safest bet that there is right now.
Maybe, except that if Tito wants to play his or Tata, is it Tata or Tito?
Yeah. It's Gerardo Martino, Tata Martino.
And then I always get him confused with Tito Villalba or whatever it is. But anyway, it's all a whole thing. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway,
the Yugoslavian dictator.
That's the one. No, but more so, if he plays that high pressure system, then maybe Kenwyne Jones doesn't fit that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's sitting on the bench and now you're wearing a bench warmer's jersey. So I do think maybe. Like the squad role player is the way to go. So maybe it is a player like Michael Parkhurst.
I was just thinking that.
Yep.
Yeah, he's experienced. He already has an established. This is a weird way to think of it, but a brand. There's a brand Michael Parkhurst, right, which is reliable, sensible defender. Even if he falls out of favour at Atlanta, most soccer fans will still recognise that name and understand why you chose that.
Yep. The other way you could go, it doesn't really work with Atlanta, is you go veteran. So you go like retired. Former superstar.
That is the way to do it.
Yeah,
right?
and so I guess
not for Atlanta.
Yeah, well, I don't know because I don't know like how honestly I don't know much about like the history of soccer in Atlanta. I know the Silverbacks were there briefly. I know that's kind of not a great thing to talk about. I know now you've got
the history doesn't connect.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, it's tough to say because if you have other clubs that like harken, like Houston Dynamo get their name. I think when we were doing the research, they get their name from the Houston Dynamos who used to play. So you could like go and see who played there and see if there were any big people.
If you're a DC fan right now, you could get Hawks. But you could get like the dad, John Harkes, and he also represents Ian Harkes, who is on the roster this year.
Yep. Although again,
that's a good bet.
Not you've got personal life issues there too, so it's tough to say. Although you could wear the Harkes jersey when Cincinnati comes to town, and then it fits.
You could also with Atlanta, you could literally have the word blank on the back.
That works.
For Arthur Blank?
Yeah, I like it.
And say it's a blank jersey.
Yep. Yeah, perfect. There we go. I think we solved it.
Have we solved it there?
No, not at all. We've given lots of options without answering. But I think if you forced me to, I would go with role player that you think you'll enjoy rooting for.
Okay.
I wouldn't go with like guy who I think is going to be setting the world alight. Otherwise, I would have a Gabriel Obertan Manchester United jersey. Not a great idea. So I'd say go with
the very back of your closet now.
Yeah. So either go with the person or sold or set on fire, one or the other. So go with the person that you think is a player that you're going to enjoy.
Gaza.
That could be one. Or go with a player that you connect to. So say there's a story you really like about one of the players on Atlanta United, or about something they've done, or a reason why you connect with them. If you really want that connection on your back for this season, then go with that player.
I think I've got it. Get it blank to start.
Yep.
Right? First of all, get a replica and unauthentic. Get it blank to start. Go back and get it personalised after the season has started and see who you're enjoying. If Kenwyne Jones scores like 7 goals in the first 6 games, go get yourself Jones on the back.
See, then you're just a bandwagon fan, Daryl.
No, but then you're excited about a specific player, and then you look great turn up to the stadium, they'll be like, oh, this guy's got that jersey, right?
Yeah.
You don't look as convinced?
I don't think so, because I think you still run the risk of then being the fair weather, like, oh, now you got the name on the back, huh? Maybe you go opposite. Maybe you be a hipster. And like the forward who makes way for Kenwyne Jones scoring the goals, that's the one you get on your back. It's like, hey, I'm showing support.
All right, Michael, I'm not sure we 100% answered it, but I can say we did our best. Please let us know what you end up going with, right? Please, especially bills to pay, mouths to feed, please go replica, not authentic.
Yes,
I think that's
definitely.
the only one we can be really solid on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, final segment on today's show. We have seven updates from the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network. If you've never heard before, these are the up-and-comers in world soccer that listeners to TSS are keeping an eye on. People in the Scouting Network are supporting the show. They've gone to totalsoccershow.com/subscribe, taking a subscription of $5 a month or higher. With that, you get a player to scout. If you go $10 a month or higher, we guarantee to answer a listener question once a month. One of your listener questions once a month. All right, you ready for some updates, Taylor? Would you like to go first?
Yes, some shorter than others.
Ooh,
we'll start with a short one,
one.
Andy Hollums scouting Julian Green, the 21-year-old American winger for VfB Stuttgart. He started his second straight game and scored his first goal for Stuttgart earlier this week.
It was against Fortuna Düsseldorf. I saw this.
And Jerome Kiesevetter's team.
Yeah, I didn't check if he was playing or not.
I'm guessing he wasn't.
Have you seen the goal?
Yes, I have.
It's a good finish, right?
Yep.
The cross comes in from the right and he's running in at pace, hits it sweetly, left-footed, far post.
He's skillful. He's skillful, that Julian Green.
Certainly he is. Back in the US national team in the nearish future.
I would guess so.
Within the year, I want to say.
We shall see.
All right, up next, Julie Nishimura Jensen scouting Alan Halilovic. Oh, this has been a long and winding road, right? The 20-year-old Croatian attacking midfielder for Las Palmas. Julie says Halilovic made his debut in the 81st minute of Las Palmas' 1-0 loss at Granada. Julie adds that Alan's debut was totally overshadowed by the debut of Hesse, a native Gran Canarian, in the 67th minute. All the articles I found talked about Hesse's big return, and Halilovic was a bit of a footnote. But at least he's playing, right? Because he had a nightmare at Hamburg, which we really thought would be the making of him.
At least he's playing 9 minutes. Kyle Staley.
It's more than you played in the La Liga this weekend.
This is true. Kyle Staley scouting Ousmane Dembele, a 19-year-old French winger midfielder for Borussia Dortmund.
Okay.
Dembele earned a spot in the Bundesliga. This is a confusing phrase, so stick with me. Earned a spot in the Bundesliga first half of the season team of the year.
Oh, the Heinrunde.
Alongside Christian Pulisic. Last weekend versus RB Leipzig, Dembele put in a pinpoint cross for Aubameyang to head home. That goal proved to be the winner in a crucial 1-0 victory over the league's second-place team.
I saw that goal, yeah.
Dembele was subbed off in the 61st minute for Christian Pulisic due to injury, but it doesn't look to be too serious.
Up next, Ben Tondera is scouting Mason Holgate, the 20-year-old English defender for Everton. Ben says Holgate had a rough week as he was pulled at half-time against Stoke last Wednesday and then only got 10 minutes against Bournemouth this weekend. He came on to help see out the victory, but as we talked about on Monday, you and I, Everton scored 3 more while young Mason was on the pitch. I'm not sure Mason Holgate can take all the credit for those goals.
No, I think the point was more so like they brought him on for his defensive positioning and responsibility, and then they scored 3 more goals. So it was more like, maybe he wasn't quite as essential in terms of seeing out the result.
I think I saw him whisper to Ross Barkley, celebrate before you score.
I'm sure that's what it was. Up next, Andrew Baird scouting Joshua Perez, the 19-year-old American forward for Fiorentina. Josh continues to feature for the Fiorentina Primavera team, but Andrew has some distressing news to report. Potentially distressing.
Well, yeah, didn't he get a couple games for the first team at some point?
He got called up into the squad. I believe he was on the bench. And I think made his debut, but generally was on the bench, now back with the Primavera team. Current El Salvador manager Eduardo Lara has his eyes on a couple of American dual nationals with Salvadorian eligibility and is willing to use the prospect of senior national team caps to aid in the recruiting process, and it looks like he might be targeting Perez. Not to worry, though, as it also appears that Perez has already turned down a few call-ups and seems intent on representing the United States, but something to keep an eye on nonetheless.
Oh, we always get nervous, right, when people start looking at our players.
That we do.
This could be a new Andy Naha situation.
It could be. I doubt it will be. And if it is, so be it. But it's not worth being like, oh, here's a senior call-up just because.
I guess the pull of El Salvador, there's not much chance of El Salvador making the World Cup, right? So Josh Perez...
unless Infantino gets his way, we shall see.
That's true. Up next, Victor Savage is scouting Ricardo Kirchner, the 22-year-old forward for Lille. Despite managerial turnover at Lazio, Kirchner was never able to nail down consistent minutes in Italy and has now been loaned out to Lille, that explains that, for the remainder of the season. Victor isn't sure if there is an option to buy with the loan, but is hopeful that a solid run of games could lead to a future starting spot with either Lazio or Lille, or maybe any other team starting with L.
Yeah, I think in editing this one I made that a little bit confusing. Basically, Victor was saying that Lazio kept having different managers, and each one kept being like, nah, we're good, Ricardo. You keep doing your thing. Final report comes from Juan Carlos Salas, who's scouting Mallory Pugh, the 18-year-old forward/winger for the U.S. women's national team. Mallory has been laying low and getting acclimated to life at UCLA since she skipped the fall semester for women's national team duties. However, there you go. However, Jill Ellis called her into the 25-player camp in preparation for the She Believes Cup, which takes place in early March. The U.S. women's national team will train for 1 week in Orlando before the start of the tournament, in which they will face off against Germany, England, and France.
All right. Did you notice also this roster, there was a 16-year-old midfielder called Brianna Pinto?
I did not, until you told me about it.
Never heard of Brianna Pinto before, but when a 16-year-old gets called up to the US Women's National Team camp, we have to take note. I think that's someone we should add to the Scouting Network.
Does she look suspiciously like Hope Solo in a wig?
I haven't seen. Oh, no. Also, Harry Needham is scouting Rose Lavelle. Rose Lavelle called up to this roster.
There we go.
You know who wasn't called up?
Megan Rapinoe.
Yes, that was the big news, right? That Jill Ellis said basically she's not she needs to get match fit before we select her for a competition like the She Believes Cup.
because you can't bring a not match fit Megan Rapinoe to a tournament because bad things could happen.
Like say the Olympics,
like that. Yeah, for example.
Yeah, I mean, is it not fair to accuse Jill Ellis of hypocrisy here? Is it better to say she learned from the mistake of the Olympics?
I think it's better to say she learned from the mistake of the Olympics, because she might even make the argument that the Olympics weren't a mistake, that you wanted a couple veteran role-playing leaders in there just to kind of unite the team, bring everybody together, and then if she gets minutes, she gets minutes.
And it's more important to maybe give minutes to up-and-comers in the She Believes Cup than in the Olympics? Yeah. So we want to give Jill Ellis the benefit of the doubt?
We do.
Yeah?
I'm okay with that.
Let's do that.
Okay.
All right, thank you to everybody who submitted scouting reports today. Thank you to Andy, Julie, Kyle, Ben, Andrew, Victor, and Juan. I also want to say thank you to Nick Taylor. Nick Taylor sent us 3 Arsenal programmes from his trip to England, including, I'm not sure we want a souvenir of this, but Bob Bradley's defeat as Swansea coach to Arsenal, which was not a happy day for centre-backs.
It was not. It was not.
I would also say, Nick, we really do appreciate the gift, but you scared us a little bit because it was a large package from a law firm. We thought we were getting a cease and desist from someone or we were in some sort of trouble. I thought maybe the members of 01, the band that does our theme tune, maybe they'd banded together and put a class action lawsuit on us.
Stop giving people ideas. Stop giving people ideas, Daryl. Be quiet. Quiet.
So, yeah, but thank you, Nick. Thank you very much. All right, Taylor Rockwell, thank you, sir, for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this show and you want to hear more from us, I can recommend our other podcast, The Goalmouth. There is a competition running on The Goalmouth this week to possibly win a Who Are Your Designs t-shirt. You just need to listen to every episode, get all the secret words, and email them to us. Find The Goalmouth in iTunes or wherever else you get your podcasts. On behalf of Taylor and Daryl, it is goodbye from us, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.